Hello, welcome to Footy Corner TV. I stole his hello there. Yeah, what the hell's going on there? I don't do that. He does that, not me. That's a him thing. Anyway, welcome to Footy Corner TV. This is the Word No Flag podcast. I'm surprised he hasn't done it by now, to be honest with you. Yeah, normally that kind of guy that where there's a joke in there can slide in there. So he's done it on purpose now. I reckon. I reckon that's what it is. So,
I thought I'd just let you keep going and digging.
Yeah. I was like, insert joke anytime soon. Yeah.
Well, you see, last week outside your window there was a screeching seagull. This week it's a JCB man arriving to dig you out the hole that you just said.
I didn't dig a hole, to be fair. I mean, it was just the starts of our shows is normally a hole waiting to happen anyway. It's just kind of just a whole random bunch of nonsense. But there we go. But we're here anyway. We managed to start a show, so it's that's the main thing. We haven't melted away yet, but we're verging on that kind of thing.
It is that hot, I tell you.
It is that hot, heating up, and before any Americans in the chat, they're basically saying this is just a normal everyday thing. It's not for us. All our homes are insulated to the nines, and they don't let any heat out because they're built completely differently. They're built to retain heat.
I'm assuming now, but think Alaska rather than Florida.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know, to be honest. I've considered putting aircon in, but we put it in for. I mean, we had the same conversation yesterday, and with our neighbours, and it's just like, I'm thinking of putting aircon in, and I was like, yeah, we're going to use it for about 4 weeks, and that's it. So it's either got to be a multifunctional air conditioning that's actually heating as well, or just don't bother, basically. But there we go, really.
And as you say, I mean, some years you don't even use it for that long, right? I mean,
no, it's like a 2-week period, and that's kind of if we're lucky.
Yeah, I'll tell you what does have the aircon on at the moment, though. That's a transfer window.
Well, let's do the England match before we do the transfer window, because we're getting it's, I don't know if it's cool or heated, or I think it's more heated than it is anything else, to be honest. Judging by some of the responses, replies, and everything I've seen today from certain rattled fan bases, one thing I will say before we even get started is it's funny how these rattled fan bases always say that somebody else is rattled.
Yeah,
it's just madness. You know, like honestly, you think you're winning by that comment, but the fact that you made that comment and you're actually quite rattled about it, when the perception of what you've actually read really shouldn't be rattled about it, maybe. But we'll speak on that in a bit anyway.
Well, I was going to say you'll have to fill me in on that because I have I've not seen.
Have you seen it? I mean,
no.
Okay, just maybe scan your timeline with on X, and I'm sure you'll see what I'm talking about at some point down your timeline. But if you don't, then I'm sure I can fill in the blanks along the way.
Yeah, we're talking England here, not Arsenal.
Say again.
We're talking England or Arsenal here?
We're going to go England to start with.
Sorry, I mean rattled.
What we're actually talking about is Arsenal and Villa, basically, predominantly.
Fair enough. Oh yes, I have seen that. Sorry, I thought you were referring to England. At which point I was like, I've not seen that. Then be rattled. But yes, I mean, yeah, that's mental.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. But again, we go into that in a bit more detail shortly. Obviously, we've got England against Ghana tomorrow. What's your expectations? Do you expect any changes in the lineup? Do you expect the same kind of gameplay that we did against Croatia?
I think Thomas Tuchel will be looking for more second half rather than first half performance against Croatia. I think he will be concerned by the defensive performance in that first half, particularly given he's got two excellent screeners in Rice and Anderson. I think he'll be expecting the back four to be more protected, but the back four themselves did not cover themselves in glory. They weren't tight enough. They weren't closing down quickly enough. And yes, look, both the Croatia goals were very nice moves. The move for the second one was, really, really strong and a good finish for their first one. Pickford may feel he could have done better, but I think Joe Hart's been picking up on this and saying how many goalkeepers are just not getting their hands up quickly enough. Ball seems to be moving a little bit more than they were expecting. So apparently it is okay to blame the balls, just for anyone that's counting. Not that he actually did blame the ball, by the way, but I think that would be an area though where he's looking to improve.
Neither did Arteta, by the way, ever.
No, that's what I was saying. Arteta didn't blame. Yeah, but sorry, that's what I meant. He was asked about the ball, and yet everyone says he's blaming the ball, including our own fans. That still irks me. Nearly 2 years on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think he'll be looking for a more defensively solid performance going forward. I think that will very much be the plan. Kane will drop back. I don't want to see him drop back into the sixth position, which he was doing at time. I want him a little bit further forward, but his ability to get on the ball, turn and play a pass, and with Madueke, and I think Gordon should start again. I know he wasn't brilliant in the last game, but the ball predominantly came down the right-hand side, and he was very good in the game before. But if it's Rashford or Gordon, doesn't really matter. I think that will be the game plan there. So I think there's probably two choices really for changes to the team. One would be Gordon, but I would stay unchanged despite Rashford scoring for the reasons I've just said. The other is John Stones. And I think probably at this point, I would play John Stones for the group stage to see if you can play him back into form and match sharpness a little bit. I think that's what's missing rather than the fact that Stones is a bad player. But what I would do is change the combination, not because Konsa played badly, but I would probably try and get Mark Gehi in alongside him. And then, for the last half hour, play Gehi and Konsa, and then do the same again next time, Gehi and Konsa for the last half hour. Because that way, if you don't think Stones is ready to play in the knockouts, assuming we make it, which we should do, then at least Gehi and Konsa have had some minutes together. That's what I'd be looking at. Otherwise, I'd go unchanged, win this game, qualify, and then ring the changes for Panama. But
Yeah.
I don't know what your view on that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still have put Maguire in the first place. To be honest, I mean, I don't understand, especially since he changed a centre back changed a left back to a centre back. With the replacement, I'd still put Maguire in there. I think he's just a cool head. He's always, even when he was not performing particularly well for his club, he's always done really well for England. So I always think that he should get the nod. And he always
it's kind of similar to Pickford and Ramsdale when Ramsdale was at Arsenal, wasn't it? Ramsdale's really knocking the door, but Pickford being picked by Southgate because he'd never let them down, and Maguire's sort of in that same camp.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I do think that there's probably more flexibility in the keeping position than there is anything else, because there are keepers that got kind of a little bit of better distribution. I mean, a couple of occasions in that first half, Pickford tried to mess us up with just not being able to play the ball properly, trying to draw pressure on. It's kind of making it about him a little bit, and it was like, yeah, you don't really need to do that, man. You just
that is something he needs to look at. Again, it's when talking about that sort of defensive shape and solidity, that was a big problem too.
But when you've got Pope and that, Pope is he's just not good enough. He doesn't push him, and I think as much as I think he is probably the best keeper we've got. Certainly in the moment, you could argue maybe Henderson, but Pope's not up to it. Ramsdale, well, he said he can't concentrate himself for a full 90 minutes, so obviously he's not going to get very far doing that. I mean, I still want to wring his neck, basically, for the fact he even said it. To be honest,
yeah, I know. What a stupid thing to say out loud.
You just kind of ruining your own career, sort of thing. And because there was that point where his dad was kind of stood in his corner every 2 seconds, wasn't it? It was just like, I'm just beating everybody down, that comes to the door, sort of thing. And as soon as he did that, he just shut up because he was like, well, I can't really defend that, can I?
No.
What am I supposed to do?
It is a stupid thing to do. And also, I think, the evidence then suggests that he can concentrate.
Yeah.
Apart
from when there's a pigeon there, apparently.
Sorry?
Apart from when there's a pigeon there.
But
yeah.
But yeah.
If there's a pigeon there, he wants to feed the birds, but
But he can do it. But it's one of these ones now where he almost wants to sort of seem cool by saying the odd thing that people, don't expect to hear footballers say. Sort of, I'm one of the lads type thing. This image he's got, where he's in the crowd for, I think it's Leeds that he supports, isn't it? Cheering them on, in fancy dress, all these sorts of things. And he's almost like become a bit of a caricature. And I wonder if that's what's prompted him to say it in a moment of stupidity. But it undermines his credibility, as you say. While I can understand his dad's instinct to protect him, it wasn't always helpful for him.
Yeah, I just think it was getting a bit too much, and he's probably been told to kind of back off a little bit anyway. But that's probably put the whole nail in the casket, as the saying goes, I guess.
Was that sports quiz, isn't there, on Radio 5 on a Saturday morning? I don't know if it's still going, but Colin Murray used to present it, and the final round used to be defend the indefensible. That could be a question, right?
That could be a question on there, couldn't it? Quite easily, yeah. I can't concentrate for 90 minutes, but
I should be England's number one.
Yeah, a bit mad. For me, Stones. I'm not sure Stones should be there either, to be honest with you. And I get the limbs of it and everything like that. But if that's the case of past kind of situations, then how come Henderson didn't get the nod to play? Do you know what I mean? Because
I can only think it's on the pitch. I can only think it's because he's as you say, his experience, but also possibly because he's a sort of a ball playing defender to try and sort of make up for the fact that maybe that's a part that Pickford can't do. And I think I have no problem with Stones going, because I think he's in terms of he is one of our best defenders, but he's going in a world where Harry Maguire has gone, who I think's had a good season. And as we spoke about previously, I know it sounds daft that we're talking about Harry Maguire, as a sort of saviour of England. I'm not saying that, but where he goes, I think, look, you've got lots of experienced players around. If he is struggling to sort of be fit and play well, I think having taken him now, I do now play him in these 2 games to see how if he can get some fitness up, because otherwise it's complete and utter waste of a pick if you don't. And I certainly wouldn't want to be throwing him in later on now into this tournament completely and utterly, without getting minutes under his belt. And from that point of view, Thomas Tuchel has made a bit of a rod for his own back. I'm a big John Stones fan as a player in terms of what England have in terms of quality, but I agree with you. I'm not convinced I'd have taken him to this World Cup simply because he's John Stones. He's not Messi or Ronaldo. And I think England did have other potential options there that could have got them to where they wanted to be and done what they needed to do. So, is an odd one.
Yeah, it is an odd one. It really is. But I mean, I do take the point that he's obviously a case that that he wants a ball playing defender, that wants somebody that can actually run through the middle of the park, like you say, and just make things a little bit difficult. But
and there just aren't those options. It's a bit like, as you say, with the ball playing keeper. There's really probably from England. Who is there? I don't think Pickford's great at it. I think Ramsdale's better, but isn't in the top, anywhere near the top bracket of ball playing keepers in the world.
He's better distribution wise, but I think he's worse at saves.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I'm talking distribution wise. We've got goalkeepers that can, save a ball, do the traditional goalkeeper job.
Yeah.
But I am struggling for ball playing keepers for England.
And Henderson's distribution is not great either, is it?
Who's that?
It's okay. Henderson.
Yeah, exactly. It's not brilliant.
It's okay, but it's not brilliant. And Pope is just Pope.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I'd
so-
almost rather have Alexander III or whatever his name is. That's or Pope Innocent. I can't remember which Pope we're on to at the moment. In goal than Pope if it was playing out from the back. To be honest, but a better joke if I remembered who the Pope was. But never mind.
It kind of needed a bit of flow, I think. That one.
Yeah, well, even with flow, I'm not sure it would have gone terribly well. But it does show.
I get the point. Yes,
it does show at the back though that there is this dearth of players that can play on the ball, in that way, and it is interesting to see Tuchel trying to play out in that way without necessarily the personnel to do it.
No, I mean, I think the thing is that we have essentially the most physically demanding league in the world. I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
I think so. I think the French is relatively physically demanding. German at times is, but I don't think it's on the par with England and the number of games as well that goes with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously France is it's demanding, but you can apparently change fixtures around to suit yourself. So that's okay.
Only if you play in dark blue and red.
Yeah, well.
So Crystal Palace, they'd be fine.
The Crystal Palace be fine, but yeah, maybe extend it to claret and blue possibly, but other than that, you're kind of a bit screwed. We'd have to resort to the maroon kit, I think.
Yeah, and there's also to your point, there's less games as well in those divisions as well. So I think
this is the bizarre point, isn't it? Because it's like, well, you can move games around, but you've got less games, and you can rest key players in more of your games. Because you don't have as much competition, so it is a bit bizarre. I find really, but that's what we are. What did you make of? I know we had a conversation about the Croatia game after that, anyway. But what do you make of Bellingham's performance in that game? And does he start the game for you? Does somebody else go in? What do you think?
I think I'd start Bellingham again here. I think Rodgers did well coming off the bench. I thought Bellingham was, if I'm being kind, average in the first half. He lost the ball a lot, went down a lot, didn't really link the play. I thought he was better in the second half. I think I saw someone giving him player of the match, which I thought was a bit.
I saw that, and I also saw Terry did the thing at Box Park afterwards. And they were all saying it was amazing for the whole game, basically. And I was like, I think I watched a different game. I don't really understand. And it even got to a point where I'd put in the comments that Bellingham had a bad first half. He was much better the second half, albeit for about 25 minutes before he was substituting anyway. And he noted the comment and basically said somebody said he was really bad, but I didn't think he was. And there was a mixture of comments, to be fair, in the actual chat, because obviously there's quite a few in the chat for the Box Park thing. That kind of agreed with me, and then others that agreed with Terry. So it was a bit weird, and I wasn't sure if people were basically limbing him up because of who he is, you know what I mean? Because of who he is and who he plays for.
And the fact he's an England player as well. So, I mean, look, I did think he was much better in the second half, and his goal was very, very important and well taken, a good driving run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Messiah celebration thing, when you've had a stinker the first half, I think it's absolutely outrageous.
Well, I think the Monty Python boys would have enjoyed that, though, because that gave them the ultimate saying, didn't it? After his first half. And I don't think he had a stinker in the first half. He was just bang average, right? But for his own standards, I think a stinker would be a fair comparison because we know he is a very good player. But I think
that's what I was saying. A stinker by his own standards.
Yes,
so I wasn't saying a stinker as in, an average player who basically can't kick a ball. I mean, I think your analysis was right because he was basically trying to do too much with the ball, and then when the ball came to him, he was more worried about either trying to get a free kick or trying to get a flick on or trying to get something. I mean, was it the second goal where he tried to flick flicked the ball through to, I think it was Madueke, and I was just like, "There's no space there. What are you doing that for?" And it's coming off one time out of 10.
Yeah, and you've got Madueke torturing Gvardiol down that right-hand side, our right-hand side. Just take the touch and play him in properly.
Yeah,
because he's
all you had to do, take a touch, turn on it, and play it with your other foot. That's all you had to do. Run it in.
What did you make of Madueke, by the way?
I thought he had a really good game. I mean, I saw other people were basically saying that he was rubbish and whatever, and I thought that from the actual comments of it that were going on, I thought the roles were kind of reversed. What the incriminations that they were giving to Madueke should have gone to Bellingham, and the plaudits that were given to Bellingham should have gone to Madueke. But
I do too.
Yeah, there are actually some people that can't give Madueke any credit for anything, really.
And I was just going to make this exact point, right? Madueke played brilliantly. You know, we know he has issues with decision making in his final ball.
End product is a big thing.
And his end product, I thought, was excellent. Yes, it didn't always find a man. And that's what someone said. You know, 7 of his balls didn't find a player. Yeah, because of good defending, not because it was a wrong option or because it's gone right across the face and no one's quite got on it. You know,
the same people have praised Fernandes all year for trying a cross or trying this and trying that, and it's been intercepted, but he does it again. And that's what you want from your player. You want him to actually try something in the final third. You don't need to try it in midfield that's going to cause a counter attack that's going to leave you on the back foot. But when you get into position, you've got to put the ball into a dangerous position. And I think I don't think he did it every time, but I think probably 4 out of 5 times I think he did.
And actually, that's high for a winger.
Yeah.
You know, this idea, and I was saying it not the season just gone, the season before. You know, people criticizing Havertz, going, you know, he's not clinical enough. Now that's fair, but they were saying Haaland, every shot he has goes in. It's just statistically untrue. But there was this perception around players, and I think this is where you hit the nail on the head. Is why I asked about Madueke, because Bellingham, I agree with you. I think poor first half, much better second half. Madueke, I thought, was excellent throughout the game. And I know Saka comes on and gets the assist, but Saka is a better player than Madueke. But who's to say Madueke wouldn't have been able to do that too, right? You know, but he for me was excellent. But he's been criticised because he's Noni Madueke, in my opinion, including by Arsenal fans. You know, I've heard Arsenal fans say they will take £20 million offer for Madueke right now. I mean, that's a £30 million hit. Secondly, try and find another right winger to back up Saka of that quality that's happy to do it. Because you're going to struggle.
That was a problem when you were looking for somebody in the first place, isn't it? Who wants to be backup?
Yeah.
So you know, I mean, we have to wait and see how Saka's injury goes anyway to see where he's going to be in the start of the next season anyway. But
he could be getting lots of minutes there anyway, as you say.
Yeah, he could be getting that anyway. But you know, so hopefully the England task puts him in a good stead and builds him a bit of confidence as well, because he has gone there over Palmer or Foden or whatever.
Jared Bowen.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree that Bowen shouldn't be there. I don't necessarily agree that Bowen should be there in the place of Madueke either, because I think
it was a straight fight between the two of them.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it?
Well enough. But I think Madueke was the right choice. And I said this before the World Cup, not because he's an Arsenal player, but because he can play on both flanks, which Bowen couldn't. And that's why I felt Madueke was the right pick. He also has that relationship with Saka, which helps with team bonding and that sort of thing. So I think Noni's there on merit. And I'm really pleased to see him play really well in that first game. I thought it was really important for him to do so. But what were your thoughts on where that performance suddenly came from? Because I felt he looked freer in that game. I don't think that's because he wasn't playing for Mikel Arteta. I just think the pressure probably, you know, and he's a player I think that's sort of relatively pressure free, but he knew Arsenal needed to win the league this season, and he was a potential scapegoat because we had the petition and all sorts against him. But having won the league, I thought he just looked free free of that pressure and burden. I thought that sort of came out in the way he expressed himself in that game. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but thoughts on that?
I think that's the same for all Arsenal players, to be honest with you. I
I
really do. And this is what we were saying during the season. And Terry criticizes this as well, where we said, oh, you win, you go for the League Cup, you win that, and that releases the pressure. And obviously, he's basically said that, you know, the stats don't back that up and whatever. But it's kind of human nature, isn't it? That once you've got over the line with something, you've made a goal, you've got to that kind of point where you've actually won something, then the pressure eases. Would it have eased for the Arsenal players this season? Maybe not, because they were kind of under pressure to get something big over the line rather than a League Cup. But even if it takes like 20%, 30% off, and it just gives that little bit of freedom, I think that's what he's done. I really do. I just think that the inhibitions, the kind of pressure, the forced nature, you know yourself, when you're trying to force something, invariably things go wrong. So you just overthink things or underthink things, and from the point of view from what he was doing as well, when he should have done a short pass, he was doing a lob pass or whatever. It was basically topsy-turvy. So you're literally going, well, you should have played it short, but you played it long. You should have played it long, but you played it short. So it literally flipped it around. And that could be the difference. Literally can be the difference of that kind of mental state. So, but yeah, I do think it's released all the Arsenal players a little bit.
I think so. And I'm a big believer in this sort of a view that, you know, if you think about making a mistake, you're going to make mistakes. So think about doing it well, and you're more likely to do it better. And I think, you know, well, you bring up the sort of League Cup final. I think we were both of you that would have been massive for Arsenal this season had they done it. And Terry's right, the stats don't back that up. But I also think that's partly because the teams that have won it happen to have all been good teams for so long. So therefore, there's a very small sample size that you can then use to compare that for how they've then gone on to do it. Because so you've had Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United in the last 20 years, those teams predominantly winning that competition.
But also, the League Cup was always kind of a youth stepping stone. So it was always that kind of thing. And only since like Liverpool got deeper squads and City got deeper squads, and now we've got a deeper squad, has it now become where teams actually go for it? Because so many times where they've got, I mean, under Wenger and such like, I don't think we played one senior player in most of those rounds of the League Cup.
Didn't we have an average age of like under 21 for a game?
I think it was under 18. I think in one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say no. I meant including the bench, as in the whole matchday squad.
Yeah, because I think what he did do was put the first teamers on the bench, but yeah, I mean that's probably the case. But like I say, it was always a competition to blood youngsters in, wasn't it? So to blood youth players in, and that's not me making an excuse for not winning it. I still think that we should have. We were in a position where he could have won it in a couple of cases, particularly against Birmingham City when that debacle happened. But yeah, I just don't think that the analysis over the full duration of the League Cup is kind of fair. It should be over a shorter period of time. So it should be since within the last 20 years, I guess. It's probably a bit more of a fair analysis, because that's when it's kind of developed into a competition where senior players actually get started in it.
Yeah, I think so. I think you know, I'd even go as far as say lots of the last 15 years. I mean, you know, rather than 20, because I you know, Maybe Chelsea did it a bit under
Chelsea
Mourinho.
in 2003,
Yeah.
maybe, when
Yeah,
that's probably
I
where
was
it
arguing with
started.
myself in my head as I was saying out loud with that
So
exact argument.
probably where it started.
Yeah.
The actual deeper squads actually probably started about there. Maybe a little bit earlier, but it wouldn't be much earlier if that was the case. Yeah, I think that's probably about where it actually started, or not necessarily started, but that's where the development phase was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yes, I think that's right.
So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, we kind of said that from that point of view that that we thought it would be a bit of a springboard and it would ease a bit of pressure, and like we said, I think that has done that to the Arsenal players. They're still carrying knocks and injuries and whatever from the season because they played so many games as well. But that's the same with all players as well. So
yeah, I think so, and I think but the sort of players for the big clubs more because they generally played more minutes. I think was it Gunner Blog or Arsenal Blog, one of the two today, calculated that Declan Rice played over 5,000 minutes for Arsenal in England in the last 12 months, which is just insane.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, to be honest. I do normally watch that podcast, but I haven't seen that one.
I saw it on Twitter, I think.
Oh, okay. So it was just capturing a clip.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, or Reddit. I think I actually read it somewhere. But yeah,
a clip on Reddit.
No, as in I read it, as in read new word it. I'm not on Reddit. I don't actually know what Reddit is. I know it exists, but I don't really know how to describe it.
It's just an ask and answer platform, really.
Right. I just use Google, which can be incredibly useful for winning arguments against idiots because it tends to contradict them very, very quickly. But anyway, the
Google's all right if you want an AI answer. Reddit is if you want a human answer.
Yeah, well, what I mean by that is, but it's quite useful for looking up a stat of what year did they play in or what have you.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. The analysis I'll leave to myself, but the fact checking is quite useful.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had a bit of a bit of a week, haven't you? With nonsense people trying to just be a bit clever.
I don't think clever comes into it, but yes, interesting.
To be clever. I didn't say it was clever.
Well, the irony
thinking is clever.
And the irony is he's not stupid, but it's not alone. But I mean, there does seem to be a sort of growing consensus and frustration though around the fan base. I don't know if you sort of picked up on this, that Arsenal aren't doing anything in the transfer market. Spurs are signing players. Manchester United have got one over the line. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm very relaxed about this. We know this is what Berta does. We talk about it before. He scans the market, gets all the information and decides which ones he's going to pull. And you just see the deals get done very, very quickly because they're essentially done now. He just hasn't decided to, do the final bits of the negotiation. And you were alluding to it earlier. I think it was Hand of Arsenal was talking about that one, wasn't he? With the issue with Villa and Villa fans. But, I'm very relaxed about the market. I don't think there is a player that has gone to a club so far on a done deal or that is close to being done that I'm like, Arsenal have absolutely missed out on one. The exception probably would be Elliot Anderson, which I believe is edging closer now, but that's not done yet and probably won't be done till after the World Cup anyway. But I never thought that was a realistic one for Arsenal anyway, because Manchester City, he's going to be the obvious replacement for Rodri, who's either going this summer or is struggling for to play significant minutes following that injury. Now, maybe next season he comes back and he can do it, but the evidence of this season is very much that he can't, and he is aging. So even if he does do it this season, Anderson's the heir apparent. That always made more sense to me, and therefore it wasn't one I was expecting Arsenal to get done. I'd have loved it if he was. I think Elliot Anderson's a really good player, but I don't think we've missed out on any where I'm like Berta or Arteta. I'm absolutely fuming with you. And the reality is as well, other sides will always buy good players that you think, well, they could have done well at Arsenal too, because you can't buy everybody. So I'm very relaxed on where we are in this window.
Yeah, the thing is that Anderson would want to be a starter wherever he's going, wouldn't he? So if you've got already a decent midfield, I'm not saying the best midfield in the league, but if you've got a decent midfield, then they've got to displace somebody. And when you've got a situation with management where they want to rotate the midfield, then maybe they just don't want to be rotated anyway. Plus, I don't think for that kind of money they want to buy somebody that's going to be rotated in and out anyway. So
no.
Not in that position. I think if he was in specifically in attack, I think that's where the money's been earmarked. I think they want something more reasonable in midfield.
I think so too. I think a big signing is coming in midfield because, you know, Declan Rice has come out and openly said he's struggling with a hamstring issue for the last 6 months. We do need to rotate more in that midfield area. But as you say, you don't go and spend 120, 125 million, whatever Anderson ends up costing, as a rotation option there. And look, I think Anderson, if he came into Arsenal midfield, would feel he is good enough to displace Martin Zubimendi, presumably. I don't think maybe he thinks he can take Rice, but I think more likely Zubimendi. And that's not to call Zubimendi a bad player. That's because top players like Anderson have confidence in themselves, and so they should. But he could also go to City, and Rodri, as I said, is struggling. It is a much easier position to displace there.
So it is when he's only going to be there for a year as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he probably thinks he's not signing a new contract. He's going to go, and I'm going to take his place. So even if I rotate for a year, I'm getting his spot next year anyway.
And there's no big international tournament next summer, so I don't have to worry from that point of view. So, it's a pathway thing. I was talking about, and I know this is the other end of the scale, but Kieran Thompson, I think his name is, the right winger, but is reportedly leaving Arsenal. And it looks like he's going to Spurs, whereas ironically Spurs are losing one of their top defensive prospects, Eliza Upson, who's coming to Arsenal. But that things happens a lot at youth level, and a lot of it is about pathway through. And if you look at Kieran Thompson's position, he wants to come in on the right wing. Well, right now he's got Saka, Madueke, Dalman, who's younger than him, and potentially Ethan Nwaneri, all in his pathway. That is a big ask. If you look at Elijah Upson, yes, he's got the 4 centre backs there now, but he's still 18, and centre backs don't tend to come through until much later. So you can sort of see the pathway there. And Spurs right now are going out and buying a whole load of new centre halves right now, suggesting that they're not interested in promoting from within. So you can sort of see it there, and I think that that applies more at youth level than older level. It does apply across the piece. So right now I'm not worried about anything in the transfer market. I'm very intrigued. I've no idea what we're going to do. Last summer, it's fairly obvious what positions we're going to do, and I got even most of the players right. It was Mosquera and Nkapia were the two I didn't see. Annoyingly, Kepa I did see, but I couldn't remember the Bournemouth goalkeeper's name. So I ended up going with, I said we're going to sign someone from Chelsea, one of the goalkeepers from Chelsea, and said Sanchez. But in the moment live, I couldn't think of Kepa, and I messaged someone after the podcast going, Kepa's the man I meant.
To replace Neto.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with his save against Genoa, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was that was heart in mouth moment. But but this summer I've no idea what's going to happen. I really don't.
Well, let's just go through the younger players quickly, because that's probably easier to kind of dissect and just kind of brush over that, I guess. But there's been talk in the last week or so for the Andrea Bertishvili, who's apparently coming in between 1.5 million to 4.5 million. He's gonna apparently come in. Jeremy Monga.
Sorry, you broke up there, so I've had to shut everything down apart from this stream. Clearly struggling in the heat here. But did you say this is the scout that found Kvaratskhelia? Is that the one?
No, I'm not talking about a scout. I'm talking about the youth. Youth player.
This is the player that he found. Was that the player you're talking about then? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jeremy Monga, who's apparently another bid's gone in, and they're sorting that out from there. And there's been no advice whether that's been accepted. The first one was rejected, but it was very far along. Solis, not really heard anything since last week, to be honest, since we were supposedly putting in a bid for him as well. But it looks like we're trying to backfill as well as fill in the top as well.
I think that's really sensible as a plan, because going back to Alex Ferguson, I think one of the things he really did was future-proof the team all the time. So he'd have windows where he'd buy in not necessarily youngsters into the youth academy, but younger players that could come in back up for a year or two and then come through. Arsenal taking up back and stage further into youth development system, but that's kind of the way things work now, particularly with the quality in this first team squad. I think it's why the likes of Yvan Nwaneri may not make it at Arsenal now, because the ceiling is so high. If he come through 3 years earlier, he 100% makes it through into the first team. But you can hopefully either make big sales on the back of that, something Arsenal need to definitely do better out there, youth academy, or progress them through into the first team and save a load of money. But at the same time, we are in a position now where we're in the win now window, to use the American phrase, and doing a little bit of both makes a lot of sense. It also helps with league regulation rules going forward as well, if you can get these players through into the first team. So I think it's a really sensible strategy from Andrea Berta there, and obviously his new sort of chief scout is playing a crucial role in that.
Yeah, there's a new academy director coming in as well, so we don't know who that is yet.
No, the two of them are working really hard on that deal, aren't they, to sort of finalise that? But they definitely want someone aligned with that strategy and thinking with the requisite experience. I think, Mertesacker, by and large, probably did a good job. I think there were issues with the academy, which is why he's been moved on. I don't think he's left. I think he's been moved on. I think if he left, he would have a job to go to. We'd know by now. And I think, like he and Edu, I think they both did well, generally speaking, in their time. But where Arsenal are now is beyond them, and that's what we're seeing in this appointment now. I mean, we don't know, as you say, who it's going to be, but clearly it's going to be someone that matches that philosophy and has oodles of experience.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be that we're going for somebody with actual experience rather than just limbs and legend status and such like, and affiliation with the club. So it's more like, rather than a job for the boys, an actual job because you're a professional at your job. I mean, the commercial, the Jenny, whatever her name is, I can't remember her name now.
I know who you mean. No,
can never remember her name, but basically makes an absolute mockery of what Gazidis and
Sinelli.
Who?
Sinelli, or do you mean no. The Tottenham man?
Vinay
Venkishman,
whatever his name was. It kind of makes a mockery of what they were doing, I think.
Yeah, Arsenal certainly a much more organised, serious, professional organisation now, and you can see the benefits, and it was always going to take time, both behind the scenes and on the field to fix the issues that they inherited 5-6 years ago, because it was an absolute shambles. We spoke about Tim Lewis's role in that, and why that was important, because it did need professionalising, and yes, maybe some of those people have moved on and they've been, replaced by others now, but it's been an incremental improvement every single step of the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's mad how things have changed. I would like to see it change for the facts of the actual ticket holders and everything, but I can't really see that happening, to be honest. I think the prices are just going to keep going up and up and up. There's plenty of waiting list out there for turnover to keep going.
Well, I mean, I'd love to be 6'5", Sparks. That's not going to happen either. But as you say, over time you are a successful side, and there is demand for tickets. You're not going to see those price decreases, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, so long as we're winning stuff, I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, if he does get to the point where I can't afford it, I can't afford it. As simple as that. But Yeah, at the moment I'm okay, but you know, we keep going and keep going. It, you know, 6% every year. It starts to
creep up over time.
starts to creep up and start hitting you. So you know, especially when I have to travel from Brighton as well. So what I pay on the ticket is I have to pay again to get there and do whatever. So yeah, we're all right for now, but yeah, there is a cut off point with everything, and hopefully it doesn't reach that. But you know, we shall see, I suppose. But they've introduced a new match day ticket. Have you seen this one?
Is this the one behind the dugout that cost $2,500 for a standard game, and was it 6,000? Was it for the big games?
I didn't see what it was for the big games, to be honest, but I did see that it was £2,500. Bearing in mind we paid 25 quid for that ticket, or probably about 30 quid for that ticket now. Yeah, and kind of get the feeling that they were this has been in the works for a little while because of what happened at Crystal Palace, where the directors basically the teams in the directors' areas, or the fans in the directors' areas rather, they paid a lot of money, but they got to go on the pitch afterwards. So basically, Piers Morgan basically bought one of those tickets for him and his son, and they ended up on the pitch for the trophy lift at the end of the game. So they've paid a lot of money for it. I don't really agree with it, to be honest. I just like you either let all fans on the pitch, which is not going to happen, or you let none on the pitch.
Well, do you know what though? That makes a lot of sense, and it's something that happens a lot in America as well. So if you pay for certain seats in the NFL, after the game, you get to go onto the pitch and take in the pitch and you know throw a ball around and all that sort of thing. So I think seeing that happen and be trialled for that game, I think that makes a lot of sense. Can we do that in England? Yes, we can. Brilliant. Let's go and make that happen. I mean, I'm like with you. I don't like it. But...
Yeah, like getting a picture with the trophy. You have to buy a stadium tour, and then you have to buy the pictures with the trophy. And you're like,
come on.
Surely, if I'm paying for the stadium tour anyway, I can, you know, get a picture with the Premier League trophy. But apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, from that point of view, I find it a little bit sickening, to be honest with you. You know, I know that every penny, well, not every penny, I know that the club want to raise revenue to make sure that we can invest more, that all the other clubs are doing it. But, you know, there's a limit, and I think that's going a bit far for me, to be honest with you. But
especially when we paid for season tickets for years. And
without the success,
and now people can just come along and pay for it, and you're like, I mean, all right, you should reward a bit of loyalty, you know. All right, if you had a season ticket for so many years, or you've been to so many games, or whatever, surely there should be something, but yeah, it's the corporate world we live in, I guess, and like you say, it's I guess so long as it goes back into the club, I suppose it's okay, but it does hurt a little bit, I have to say.
Yeah, you know, and I'm just, as I say, I'm just not a fan of that sort of naked commercialism, as it were. You know, it does, you know. You obviously have a season ticket. I don't, but I think that does hurt. It does stick in the craw slightly, right? Even if you don't have a season ticket, you know, it's just
for sure.
I just don't like it. Like it's sort of a bit over the top for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, shall we get to it? Get to this. This is what Hand of Arsenal posted. Pretty much today. I think it was today, maybe yesterday. Basically, Arsenal will open talks with Aston Villa to sign Morgan Rogers in the coming weeks. There's a real willingness from the English champions, to get a deal done at a reasonable price. Fee will be the key. Personal terms are no issue at all. Now, Villa fans have basically taken a bit of offence to this and basically gone, well, who knew you want a reasonable deal, but we're not taking anything less than 150 million. One said.
Well, I mean, you are.
Well, you just like it's literally just going on, and it's like you don't control the price and this, that, and neither do you. So I don't understand what the disagreement is, I guess. So it's like I mean I do disagree because that I saw people going they need to respect where they are in the food chain. I don't agree with that nonsense. I don't think that should ever be the case. I think that if you've got a top player, you should expect a top club to come for a top player.
Yes, I think that's right, and I think you'd also expect them to pay when that happens, but you've also got to understand where that club is financially, because if they are struggling financially, then you are 100% going to be in a position where actually they're going to take advantage. If you've got a club that has to sell, or else they risk not being able, to stay solvent or something like that, your £100 million player suddenly becomes £30 million player because they're desperate. And the reality is, and I don't understand how fans of all clubs cannot, with all the information we get around transfers these days, understand how it works. And in very simplistic terms, you do your homework, you work out your list. You don't just have one player, you have 3 or 4 players. Maybe some positions you have 2, because you go, actually, do you know what? If we can't get over these 2, I want to stay as we are, and we'll have a look again next year, and we're focused elsewhere, because we don't want to bring someone in that isn't going to hit the standard. But you have your list. You then go out, you work out, are they interested? Do they want to come? Are they only want to come to you? Are they slightly interested? Does their personality fit? You do all that sort of homework. You then agree terms with the player. You then start looking at what the club's going to be looking at price-wise. And then you get all that information and you start bidding for it. If Aston Villa are saying 150 million to Arsenal, like seriously, then Arsenal are walking away, and we wouldn't be hearing this about it because they'd just given up long ago. They're not going to sign players that don't want to come for whatever reason, whether it's they want to stay in a different country, they are happy where they are, they, want to be guaranteed first team football rather than being a squad player. Different people have different priorities. Morgan Rogers is clearly interested, and by the sound of things, because all the stories have gone away about Chelsea and Manchester United, who rightly were interested, but that's all gone away, suggests it's Arsenal or no one for Rodgers this summer, and that weakens Villa's negotiating position for the player. They will still get a good fee, but if you've got a bidding war, suddenly, let's say they want 100 million, suddenly 120 doesn't become unreasonable. Now you've only got Arsenal, and Villa are in a position where they do need to sell, not desperately, but they're not.
I think it is desperately, actually.
Well, I think they can't bring anyone in if they don't sell, essentially, or very limited.
I think that's what it is.
I mean, they don't need to sell in terms of to stay solvent, or to pass PSR rules, but
yeah, I think they do have to sell to meet the SCR rules for Europe. I think
they might do, but I think they're certainly going to need to sell to generate the extra funds to increase the size of the squad, because they've got Europe this season. And that will be a big factor. So but that's how it works. But Arsenal, you could see them getting 80 to 90 million for him here, whereas Barcola, interestingly, the other sort of one we've been linked with, actually there could be a genuine bidding war there, because we know Liverpool are really, really interested in him as a player, and that could boost his place going the other way. And that will be true of other players as well. Fernandes at Manchester United, Tonoli, we're seeing Spurs and Manchester United interest in both of those players potentially. That could drive the price up.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with Rodgers and Alex Goldberg, who's a big Chelsea kind of account. He's got the inside kind of knowledge apparently there. I can only go by what
by Chelsea fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's in the know apparently with Chelsea. So I can only go by what he posts, and from what he said he thinks Rodgers to Arsenal will happen, and said that Wharton to Chelsea. Wharton was supposed to be there was a post doing the rounds that Wharton was going to Chelsea for 75 million. He basically foo-fooed that, said it's completely wide of the mark. There's nothing on that. But he literally said he expects the move to go to happen to Arsenal. Now, I don't really buy that as such, but I think what he's doing there is discounting Chelsea from that move.
Yes.
Rather than saying that, he's kind of put a bit of meat on it. So I don't think it's necessarily the move to Arsenal will happen. It may well be the case that he's spoken to intermediaries and they've got the information from there that he only wants Arsenal. Well, if he only wants Arsenal, that brings the price down instantly anyway.
Yeah.
If they need to sell, at least. If they don't need to sell and they can hang on to the player, they just go, well, you either pay up or we just don't sell him. Then that's another bargaining chip. But if they have to sell, and if Rodgers only wants Arsenal, then there's a lot of hands in Arsenal favour there, I would have said.
Exactly. And look, we know most transfers are a negotiation as well. And, that is where that negotiation part really comes into its own, doesn't it? It's about leverage. Only silly clubs like Chelsea, who have got themselves into financial bother by paying what our people have done. I mean, Neto, everyone said, see, transfers can get done quickly, and they cite Neto. Yes, because essentially you did all the deals with the player in advance. So it wasn't done as quickly as advertised, but actually it was done at incredible pace because basically Neto said, I want this much. And you went, fine, no problem. Didn't even haggle about it at all. And Wolves, I can't remember who it was, Wolves that came out and said, we couldn't believe our eyes with Neto. We knew we had to sell because he was obviously attracting interest from bigger clubs than us. But we basically, and I can't remember the numbers now, but he was basically, they were saying, our position was we wanted 60 million. We wanted 50 million. So we sort of said, well, we'll start with 60 million our bidding price, and we should hopefully get 50. And they went, well, 60 million. And they went, okay. And it wasn't 60 million. They paid around 50, 45, maybe. I can't remember what it was. But basically, the point of the story is they started higher than they wanted.
Well, like you would
any negotiation.
Any negotiation, you start high, you start low, and we meet somewhere in the middle.
Exactly. And Chelsea just went, oh, okay. No wonder they're now in a position where they are struggling financially because they if they won't have just done it for that player, they'd have done it for all. And look, sometimes you have a negotiation where you do end up paying what the club wanted. Declan Rice was that, but that's because there was a bidding war at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a massive bidding war with Rice. I think it was more. City felt that they should be involved with it, so they put a bid in rather than, a swaying bid rather than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about the fact that they only bid to try and make Arsenal pay more. I don't believe that. I think they wanted Declan Rice and felt that they, should try, as you say, to get him. But once he decided it was Arsenal and only Arsenal, they withdrew. Essentially, they withdrew very quickly.
Yeah. A few others that we're kind of linked with. Tonali, I read today that his privacy was Arsenal, but 75 million bid has been rejected. So I don't think.
Was that by us or was that by someone else?
No, it was by Spurs.
Spurs, yeah.
So I think that's immediately too much that we want to pay for that particular position.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I think so. I think we do want to go big in that position because, as I mentioned, Declan Rice, potentially with a little bit of a sort of injury concern, and we talked about the need to rotate in that area as well this season. But for me, Tonali, I just don't want Tonali. I think he's too similar to what we have. and I think his age profile is the wrong one for us as well. So I'm quite happy if that's a deal that doesn't get done. Don't get me wrong, if he comes, I'm not going to be complaining about it at all because he is a good player. He's just not the one I want. I would much rather go younger in that position,
like a Buardi or something like that,
or Odorago from Leipzig, who I think is a cheaper option. But sort of in that mold. Adam Wharton is a player I really, really like. But again, I think we've got Lewis Skelly, Zubimendi that kind of does that role there. So that's not necessarily the one I'd be looking at. But certainly more those sort of age profiles. Alex Scott isn't too old either.
Wharton's a bit more progressive though, isn't he? He's a bit higher up the pitch.
He is. Yeah, he slightly changes.
But
what I mean by Zubimendi, Lewis Skelly is they sort of progress. They can turn and progress the ball with a pass, which is but I don't think it really matters either way. But I'm not against that. But I think Buardi's ability to do both, Odorago's ability to do both at a slightly lower level than Buardi, and certainly isn't the player Wharton is, but he's also a lot younger. I think that ability to do both, similar to Miles Lewis Skelly, is ideally what I want at that sort of age profile. That's kind of.
I think if we were to get a Wharton, I think I'd want somebody that can do the holding role as well. I'm not saying that Wharton can't do the holding role. I just think he's not predominantly doing the holding role. He's kind of a bit more progressive for me.
Yeah, if he plays, I think Zubimendi needs to very much hold, or Rice needs to go into 6, or Norgard needs to play. Marino didn't do a bad job when he played. He played a couple of games, didn't he, this season at 6?
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I think it's just something you'd again be looking at next summer as another central midfielder coming, which we may well be doing. Moreno will be 30 next summer. Norgard, if he stays, will be out of contract. So we could be looking at something there going forward. Moreno, is either, if he stays and Norgard goes, because a central midfielder is going this summer, in my view. Well, not necessarily, but Moreno then becomes kind of the third striker, fifth midfielder sort of position.
If Nwaneri goes out on loan, though, nobody needs to go, do they?
I think so. So if you look at midfield, central midfield right now, it's Rice, Zubimendi, Miles Lewis Skelly, Norgard, and then you bring another one in. That's so Zubimendi, Rice, Moreno, Miles Lewis Skelly, and Norgard. We've got 5. You take yourself to 6, which I think is too many for two positions. I think it is too many. But if Moreno becomes your third striker, then you could maybe say no one needs to go. But
utility in it is basically a bit of both. So you can basically keep it on that basis, couldn't you? You could basically go, well, he's covering 2 positions, so
you could make the same argument for Miles Lewis Skelly as well. But I think ideally, I think we bring in another young defender. You don't need an older defender that's expecting loads of minutes. It's I use Valdepenas as the example from Real Madrid. I'm not saying he's for sale or that's who Arsenal are interested in, but I use him because I think that's kind of, if we bring in a defender this summer, assuming no one goes, that's what Arsenal look to do. I'm not ruling out a Ben White exit, but Everton seem to have called their interest over the price, which suggests Ben White stays. But someone like that, I think, could be what Arsenal are looking at there, because then they got Marley Salmon and then illustratively Valdepenas there, as these young 18, 19-year-old defenders, Salmon's a bit younger, obviously, that, are that 8th choice midfielder, defender, with Miles Lewis Skelly as a potential option. If you've got a big game, you've got a Champions League quarter-final and you've got an injury crisis, you probably don't want to throw them in, so you maybe lose Miles Lewis Skelly back, but it gives you the cover there. But it would be a Mosquera type signing rather than, a
Zubimendi signing.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you saying about Martinelli? Do you think obviously there's been links to Newcastle? I think there's been a link to Bayern.
That'd be a good signing for them, actually, with Gordon.
I think there was one from Villa as well that they were looking at him. So he doesn't seem like he's without options.
I mean, if Martinelli goes this summer, Sammy Mockdale, you rightly corrected me on my loose language sort of backstage before we started, but Sammy Mockdale saying it was going to be difficult to get him and Rodgers, as in Barcola, sorry. I do think if Martinelli goes, I think we have to get a Barcola type winger in. I just think the profile of the
Yeah, I
squad needs
agree.
it. I can't remember if I was talking about it with you or Lee last week, but I think that absolutely vital that happens. And I do think that from, while we're not tight on PSR, I do think from an income generating perspective, we do need to sell some players this summer. And I think Martinelli is a peak example of that. And I think Martinelli is a £50 million plus player. He's got 2 years left on his contract, so we need to renegotiate him if we don't sell him this summer. So I think Martinelli should go this summer. It will be a big profit for Arsenal. We bought him for 6 million or something daft like that. I think he's done really, really well. It's a transfer that's definitely massively worked. But I think it's time now. Sam McDermott, that same thing, was talking about you need to know when the right time to sell is. Well, I think that is it for Martinelli, but an out-and-out winger needs to come in for me this summer. Someone like Barcola is right up there, even because Rodgers isn't the right profile for that for me. Too similar to
I mean, I kind of I mentioned to you during the week that I kind of maybe had a bit of a, not an epiphany, but kind of a change of direction of what I wanted to come in, because I don't really want Rodgers on the left wing.
I want him in the 10 if he's coming in.
I want him in the 10, and so I would say that probably either pushes Ødegaard down or he has to go. I don't really want him to go because obviously he's still a quality player. But
You've done it again.
Did also mention that I hadn't finished my statement before rudely interrupted.
I apologize.
It's normally my job, but there we go. I think he's a quality player, but I just don't think we just play to his strengths anymore. So I think that might be an option.
I think it is a possibility, and there's tomorrow's video. Look.
Oh, I've stolen it. I was talking about. I mean, it's not the first time I've spoken about Ødegaard.
No,
so you can't blame me for that one.
No, and I never do either. It's
nobody's watching anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, there is that. Yeah. It's unfunny how you do it every week, but it is one that I think Arsenal will be looking at for a similar reason to Martinelli. Right, 2 years left in his contract. Is on a big deal, has struggled for form for 18 months. But I also think that Arsenal, the danger of losing him is he is a player that can hold possession and keep possession very, very well. And this is the thrust of my argument tomorrow. And I think in a world where Rodgers becomes a 10 or Eze becomes a 10, you don't have a player that can keep the ball in those tight moments. Now, people say, well, Neri can. Well, when Neri is a very young man still who hasn't, beyond the hand, and a 1,000 odd minutes for Arsenal, hasn't necessarily proved it, and certainly hasn't proved it consistently in the Premier League. He is a good player, but we've spoken about him before. Is he going to have the mentality to sort of go to the top there? It is a question mark. Dalman is 16. Like, there isn't that profile in there. Havertz is the closest to it with an ability to keep the ball in that position. He then becomes vital. But I can see a world where one of Havertz or Ødegaard does go this summer, particularly if Havertz has a good World Cup. But I think where one of them go, I think ideal. Look, we've got to be really careful not to move on too many players this summer. But I think if Arsenal were to move on Jesus, who I don't really count in many ways, because he doesn't play
he's like a third wheel anyway.
Yeah, and Moreno can be that if we really need him to be. But
Nwaneri can do it as well.
Yeah, he could do. Yeah, exactly. But in a world where Jesus goes, but I don't really kind of count it. But I think if we bring in Zorlis, I'd really like to see Barcola and Rodgers come in. And I think you could probably do that without moving on Ødegaard or Havertz. But if one of them goes, then you do need to try and go after an Alvarez. And then it starts to look very expensive because suddenly, it still works for the numbers wise. And I think you can move on them. But if you are looking to bring in Buwadi, that's 60 million. Rodgers and Barcola and Zorlis, that's suddenly at 260. You're looking at 360, 370 million with Alvarez.
Plus, but if you got
plus 45 for Hincapié that we got to spend, you're over 400 million. So you're going to have to make a big sale to balance the books there because you can get 100 million for like Trossard, Martinelli, Vieira, Jesus. These players you can Norgard, you can get you 100 million,
And
but you're
it's
going to have
not
to
just
sell a load of
it's not
Martinelli.
just the money that comes in either; it's the money that comes off the wage bill.
Yes, but
So
you're probably reinvesting that straight back into these players, of course.
Yeah, but it was like when we had Party going for the money that he was on, we kind of redistributed his wages to 3 players.
Yes,
and
there will
that's
be an
pretty
element
much
of that
the
here.
same with Jesus.
Yeah, well, Jesus,
unless you're getting an Alvarez, of course.
Yeah,
if you get an Alvarez, then he's getting all that money.
Yeah, but Zazorlis, for instance, would come in on probably half the wages of Trossard.
Yeah.
If Odegaard,
well, Norgard came in for virtually nothing as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
wage-wise, so it's basically the same.
And I don't think Buardi would expect the world either as an 18-year-old.
No, but I mean, he's going to expect some kind of progressive deal, isn't he? That's
yes, he would do. Yeah.
The increments or is negotiated with certain criteria, I guess. So I think
he's on 100 grand a week, by the way.
No, he's not on that much.
I'm pretty sure
he's on about 65k. I'm sure he was.
I'll have a look now.
Sure, he was 65 because he was only on like 25k, I think.
No, you are right. 65,000 a week. Yeah. Yeah. No. If he with bonuses takes him to the 100k. So yeah.
I mean, that's Obviously, you're only counting that if you're talking net spend.
No, what I meant was I'd read somewhere he was on 100k, but it must have been with the bonuses.
Yeah, but if you're talking net spend, you have to include all the bonuses, all your
exactly.
All your agents' fees, all your sign-offs, sign-ons, and everything.
Yeah.
So
it's useful for giving an indication of how well you sort of sell compared to buy in a market, but it's an indication
if you do it properly.
Well, even if you don't, it gives you an indication, but it doesn't tell you the full story.
Yeah, and unless you do everything by closed doors, you're not telling me that people still believe that that Haaland was 51 million quid.
No,
it was about 30 million quid just in agents' fees.
Yeah,
so
and his wages.
His dad had 12 million, I think. He got off the books. So obviously it's not. Then that's what I mean. Net spend doesn't really show you anything, really.
No, as I say, it's more of an indication of how well your sort of your buy to sell ratio is. But it's an indication because it doesn't include all those other bits, which is what makes it. It's why they don't use it for your PSR rules and what have you. They do it the way they do it.
So as you kind of reference as well, that it was Sammy Mockbell that basically said that that it was unlikely that Rodgers and Barcola will both happen. Obviously, we kind of spoke about players need to go if that does happen. I fully expect Martinelli and Trossard to go.
I was nervous about that and didn't expect it to happen at the start, but I think that more and more likely now.
More it's happening because you haven't added the 20 million we could potentially get for Trossard.
I think I sort of did include him in 100 million for sort of Jesus.
Oh, okay.
But that's why I sort of did that calculation. But that's where you'd need that other big sale to get you up towards the 200 million in if you're spending. Over 400 million in wages. In wages. Obviously, some of the wages might counteract it, but everyone forgets about Nkapie, of course. But of course, we forget about Kivior as well.
So it kind of balances that. There's another one as well that we get money for.
Fabio Vieira,
yeah.
Potentially Reece Nelson.
I think there's isn't there Tavares as well? Tavares has got a sell on.
Tavares has got a sell on, as has Balogun.
I don't think Balogun's going anywhere though, is he? But I think Tavares.
There are talks now that actually a lot of Premier League clubs are looking at him on the basis of this World Cup.
Okay, because they were 20%. They were.
Yeah, Tavares is being spoken up to 40%. No one's sure what it is. It was described as hefty and potentially up to 40%.
No, I thought we.
I think more likely it's going to be 25-30, but no one knows what it is. But
okay, because I think he come in for 8 million, and then he left for like like 7 million on a 7 million euros on a loan fee.
It was he went for 10 million euros, I think. Basically, it's a deal that Arsenal are going to get 10 million for because of the bonuses, and he's triggered them. 10 million euros, that is, so about 8.5 million. So we basically got what we paid for him with a sell on, which does make him, a relatively successful transfer. It didn't work at the time, but equally, I often use him as a sort of sign of the market we were shopping at the time, because we weren't a great side, and Kieran Tierney was the starting left back. You're not going to go in and get, Roberto Carlos to come in and back up Kieran Tierney, are you? And I mean prime Roberto Carlos, obviously.
I mean, if that was the case, he'd be usurping Tierney very quickly.
Well, he would be, but but you're not getting. You get the idea. There are people that genuinely think that you can have two world-class players in every position. It's just that doesn't bear up to reality. No squad in world football has that.
Do you expect the transfers to kind of heat up after the next England game?
Oh, after the next England game, there could be a period with some of the players that have definitely qualified for the next stages, that they might sort of, if you're close to sort of deals being done, let's take Rodgers as an example, that they may well then be able to go, yeah, let's have a look at that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And suddenly something gets done, or goes to the next stage because they can sort of relax for a day or two. But in reality, I don't expect most players at the World Cup to do anything while they're still at the World Cup. You might see some of the backup players that aren't sort of anywhere near, near playing play because they're the fifth choice centre back or third choice goalkeeper or something like that.
I only asked because the cut-off, I think, for the financial year is normally like 30th of June.
Yeah, depending on who you listen to, it's the 30th of June or the 1st of July.
Yeah, so either one, it kind of falls more or less in between the two games.
Yeah, and that could be a trigger, but I think right now the sort of biggest driver is, in my view, players focusing on the World Cup. And it's a nice, easy media line to say that, I'm not looking at my future. I'm just concentrating on the World Cup. It's a nice, easy line for them to use it with the media. But I do think there's some truth to that as well. Particularly if you're trying to get into the side, there is, some benefit to you saying that, but also actually following through on that and just focusing on that. But there's also a lot of downtime where you can focus on it without, having to worry about things. But it's a bad look if your deal gets done while you're at the World Cup, and your manager's told you to focus on the World Cup, and suddenly you get a deal announced because you've agreed it. So, I don't think they'll actually get done for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of threw that out there because of the threshold. So maybe.
Do you think it will be a game changer?
What, as in
for players at the World Cup? Do you think that will sort of change things?
No, I think Tuchel already come out and basically said, if there's deals need to get done, they need to get done. It doesn't matter.
Has he? I didn't.
Yeah, he did that before the tournament started.
Fair enough. But other managers might not.
He doesn't particularly want him to. He said, but the distraction of it kind of lingering on outweighs the fact of them not getting it done in the first place. So it's better for them to get it done. It's out of their minds. So they can now concentrate on the international football because the domestic football is sorted out, sort of thing.
You can see the logic to that as well. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable argument. I mean, we were talking about it with the Tuchel deal, signing a new deal or not signing a new deal. You can cut it both ways. So you can see the logic of that. I mean, someone like Hincapié will obviously get done because it's already done. So that can get announced on the 2nd of July.
Well, he doesn't need a medical, does he?
No. So something like that can definitely get done.
Yeah, but loans to permanent are just, they're just pieces of paper, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, if you've got to do medicals, got to be serious kind of exertion, maybe you don't want to do it.
No, I mean, someone like here we go. Breaking news. Jeremy Monger is now expected to sign for Arsenal. Basically, it's all done by the paperwork, according to Hand of Arsenal. So there we go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of one of the ones that's probably the worst kept secret, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we were hinting at earlier, though, which is why I sort of mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected that not to get done.
No.
Everybody seemed very positive about it. He obviously wanted the move. He hasn't put any figures on there, has he? He's just
No.
He's put scouting indoors. Who's scouting indoors?
I don't know. But I was going to say, I just found it interesting. It suddenly came up when we mentioned that we hadn't heard anything for a few days, about a week about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, equally there's obviously offers to get put in and kind of other deals to get done, I suppose. So, you know, it's only alarming, isn't it, when it's when it comes back and say it's actually been knocked back and whatnot.
Exactly. No, it's just as I say, it's just I just found it interesting. We were mentioning it hasn't. No, it's all gone quiet, and then suddenly it hasn't again. But you know,
but that's like me nicking your ideas for your video for the next day.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly because we try and keep it as topical as possible, and therefore, if it's topical, we're likely to talk about it tonight. So you know.
Well, I mean, we're on live for an hour and 20 minutes, so it's, the likelihood is he's going to get discussed at some point.
Indeed.
Yeah, it will end up being in one of my shorts at some point, I'm sure. But I don't have control over that. The AI does that, and I just click the button.
Nice.
So I'm just like, I pay for AI. We sit here, make the content. I'm not making another clip because yeah, the AI might as well do it.
Well, there you go.
Sometimes spelling does leave a bit to be desired. I think I need to go through and edit the actual
the text. I saw one the other day. I had it on. Yeah, I had it on quiet, and I was like, and it was me on the clip. I was like, who the hell was I talking about?
Yeah, it was a bit mad. It was talking about Bacola. I just sent it out, and I was just like, oh shit, yeah, really should edit that.
Yeah, well, you know, I do mine every day. You know, make a video every day, so unscripted as well, or mostly unscripted.
Mostly unscripted, yeah. Prompt points.
No, not prompt points. The bits that aren't unscripted, actually, unless it's a factual video about how, say, PSR works, are actually, if I'm using a stat, or if there's 1 or 2 stats, I can remember them. But if I'm using 5 or 6 stats in a 3-minute video, then I would have written them down. Or if a name is impossible to spell, to say, then I will have jotted it down so that I don't make a complete howl of it. But even then, sometimes I still do. But you know, otherwise, actually, genuinely, I just have an idea and press record.
Yeah. But you can't say cool though.
But I know, as we established the other day, that was really weird. My wife just said to me, she went, "You say that really funny." I was like, "No, I don't. I just say cool." And she was like, "Yes, say cool." She's like, "No, cool." I can't even do it.
My wife calls a wall a wall.
A what?
A wall.
I don't know what to say to that.
It's weird. It's like a warble. It's odd.
That is.
I was just like, it's just a wall.
Yeah, that is bizarre. At least I'm just say it in a posh voice rather than.
But you know how you say draw. Language. You know how I say draw, and I kind of extend it. It's like that, but with wall instead, and it's just weird. It's very odd.
That is odd.
Very odd and very confusing.
But I can't say the first number except in a northern accent. I can't say anything but one.
Yeah, I've noticed that you have you got any northern kind of background? Yeah.
Because I switch between the two without even noticing.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah. It's particularly bad when I'm speaking to a colleague that happens to be from the north because I tend to switch.
The thing is, I have what they call what I call anyway a dirty southern accent because it's literally that. 1 minute I'm talking southern, and the next I'm just talking northern, just normal northern, and it just switches and just it's got no rhyme or reason to it. And then I have a beer, and it gets worse.
Yeah,
And
mine
then I have
too.
another beer, and it gets even worse. And to the point where everything speeds up. The more I drink, everything speeds up. And
I drop S's at the end of things that are plural.
Right. Well, you kind of cut the bits out of the middle.
Yeah.
And everything
that I tend to do less, but
yeah. You kind of drop accentuations as well, so it literally everything all becomes one word. Intermingles to everything, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah.
I was coaching the girls the other day, and they're only sort of 8 and 9, and I was covering the session, and one of the girls is in my daughter's class at school, and
class,
and
exactly.
Her mum is northern, and I said pass, and it took my daughter and her friend to then explain to the others that I was trying to say pass. And they went, "Oh!" I was like, "It's not that different."
It's really not that different. And I'm saying it correctly, and you're not.
Well, there is that. Yeah, there is no R in it, so
there's no R in it. No, absolutely not.
But
there we go. Score prediction for tomorrow night then.
2-0. How about you?
Scorers.
Kane, I think, will get 1. And I think a random goal scorer is going to come up, actually. I'm going to go Nico O'Reilly to get the second.
Okay. I'm going to go 3-1. And
actually, that might be a better shout, actually, because England's defence is a bit dodgy. But
yeah,
I'm going to stick with 2-0.
Yeah, defence is just ropey, isn't it? But I didn't really rate Ghana when they put. I did watch the Ghana Paraguay game. What was Paraguay, wasn't it? Panama. Yeah, I thought Ghana were rubbish, to be honest.
I thought they were fortunate to get the win out of that game.
Yeah, absolutely, very fortunate. Yeah.
And I used to live in Ghana, so I do kind of pay attention to them a little bit. They're not the side they were a few years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And you can sort of see that in their performance at AFCON over the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced they qualify. I haven't seen the sort of qualification table, or I have, but so long ago I can't remember. But I think they'd have been struggling to qualify under the old rules.
I'm gonna look at the table now.
That is from memory, so maybe I'm mistaken, but I used to live in Ghana, so I do pay attention somewhat to them.
They're joint top, but they've changed the rules, haven't they, this year? So the head-to-head comes first, and then the goal difference comes second.
So they would have qualified either way, then. But
I don't know why they've done that.
Yeah, I was trying to do it from memory. I thought they had sort of snuck in, but clearly they did. But either way, my point stands that they're not the side they were 4 or 5 years ago.
No,
and their results sort of dictate that for me. But also they'll have been helped in the qualification as well by their seeding over that period of time as well. So,
do you expect Croatia to beat Ghana?
Yes, I think so.
So who do you expect to qualify? Croatia or Ghana?
Croatia, I would expect to qualify. I think if they put in the attacking, I know they didn't create many chances against England by those sort of 2, goals.
They were good goals though, weren't they? They were well worked. So, I mean, one was a bit self-sacrifice, but I think that was pretty much on Bellingham trying to be too clever.
I think if they play like that, they create many more chances against Ghana and Panama.
Yeah.
Bad as England's defence was, Croatia had the ability to sort of turn it on, and they won't be so worried about the attack going the other way either.
Yeah, I mean, both got the hardest fixture out of the way first.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I would expect both of us really to beat Ghana and Panama.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of people that basically putting us down drawing against Ghana, but I just don't see it.
No, if we were playing Ghana last and we'd beaten Panama and had qualified, then I could see drawing against Ghana. And look, it might happen.
Players and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It could happen because we saw people, we've seen some odd results, haven't we? Cape Verde, getting the results they've got.
Cape Verde, yeah, amazing.
So let's not pretend it can't happen, but I think it would be a surprise if we weren't to beat Ghana, because I think we are significantly better side than them.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Who did you have as goal scorers, by the way?
Yeah, I was just trying to. Yeah, I was trying to escape that question.
Yeah, I did think when I asked it, thank you for that.
Came with an obligatory penalty because it always seems to happen. He won't have to retake that one.
Yeah, don't do that stuff.
What did you make of that penalty, actually? Because do you think it was right that it was retaken?
By the letter of the law, yes, but I had some sympathy for the goalkeeper because I don't have a problem with them coming off their line when it's a stuttered run up like that, because there was a deliberate delay by the penalty taker, and your natural instinct is to dive and move forward. So yes, it has to be retaken on by the rules, but I have
it was twice. It was two rules as well, right?
What was the second rule?
Because there was an encroachment from Gvardiol.
Oh, there was encroachment, wasn't there?
Yeah. So he received the ball as well. Yeah. So he was the first one to receive the ball. You can actually encroach now, but you can't receive the ball.
Yeah. Making it pointless to encroach in the first place.
Well, exactly. Oh, well, it's not pointless, but it's like, well, it's a risk, isn't it, that you don't need to take.
So I'd forgotten about the encroachment. I was thinking about the goalkeeper, but I am not a fan of stuttered penalties. I would quite like to see them taken out. And also, when you miss, you look like a right tool. In some ways, if you take it back to the Champions League final, Eze looks like more of an idiot than Gabriel.
Well, he said he was never going to do it again, didn't he?
Well, he said that last time, didn't he?
No, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. He said it. They said it last time. It's
what I don't understand with Kane is he has such a good record when smashing it. So just smash it.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
He's got power and precision with his penalties, like Gyökeres. Just do that.
Yeah, like you say, when you got such a good record at doing it, then I don't understand why you're changing your style.
No, I don't understand it either.
So yeah, Kane penalty. I'm gonna go Gordon.
I nearly went Madueke, by the way.
I was going to go Madueke, but I've gone.
I think having gone Gordon, I don't think it will be both of them.
Yeah, I've gone the other winger. So I was thinking more as a centre back. So Guéhi, I'm going to go Guéhi.
Yeah, I went with sort of a rogue shout with Nico O'Reilly, but I do think one of the defenders is going to score a goal tomorrow. Yeah. I really do.
I think he was poor that game, actually.
Sorry,
Croatia game. I think O'Reilly was poor the Croatia game.
Yeah.
No,
he wasn't poor, but he didn't light it up, did he?
Yeah, he looked like he was in headlights. That was the only lighting up he did.
I think it's slightly harsh, but yeah, he wasn't brilliant, that's for sure.
I know there was one of the shots as well he actually tried to do, didn't he? That was just like, what are you doing?
I remember he had a shot, but I can't remember anything about it, which suggests it wasn't overly memorable.
Yes, it was.
It's only because I can remember the commentator say it, sort of going, "O'Reilly," rather than because of anything else.
Yeah, well, any kind of raised voice from Matterface and Dixon, Jesus Christ, man.
Dixon was Dixon does remember he was not. He hates the Arsenal players for some reason.
I thought Alan Smith was bad, but my God, he takes it to a new level because he tried to blame Rice for that second goal.
Why?
I don't because he didn't stand up to it because he turned on it or whatever, and I was just like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, no,
He was in the position. He was where he's supposed to be. And then he said, "Oh, he was supposed to. When you're in that left back position, just stay there or something." That's not his position, is it?
He's in the centre of midfield.
Yeah, he's trying to affect the player. He'd stop the goal, the ball getting past him. Of course, he's going to do that. But yeah, it's really hard to listen to. I mean, I can understand Matterface. A is boring, and B is a Chelsea fan at least. I mean,
yeah, but at least he's overt about it.
Yeah, I mean Dixon, I have got no clue, to be honest. I got told that he was that he'd gone back to being an Arsenal fan. I was like, well,
why did he stop?
Well, I don't know, but because he played for City as well, didn't he? Or he started off. He started off supporting City.
Oh right, fair enough.
So yeah.
I don't understand this change who you support stuff unless you're like 5 years old.
Well, Mika Richards does it, doesn't he? Does the same thing.
But I can get it having an allegiance to the club you played for most of your career, and I know he didn't play for it for most of his career, but obviously,
yeah. So Richards is an Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
but his allegiance to City because he's an advocate to City.
Yeah, well, he also played there, didn't he? He came through.
No, but he's like one of their legends team or whatever it is.
Because he's available.
Yeah.
But I can understand that. Let's say I'm an Arsenal fan and I spent my entire career playing for Southampton or
Leicester
Chelsea
or whatever.
Whoever. You can understand, even if it wasn't a whole career. Like Frank Lampard and Chelsea. He's a West Ham fan, but I get that. I can get that. I can get on board with that. But
that's why I kind of let Alan Smith off, because he was a Leicester player as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So I let him off a bit, but a lot of it is just like you don't want to be biased towards, so you're biased against, and it's just like
it's definitely worse.
It's just painful, man. It's painful.
Romano's just put out an interesting tweet.
Is it?
He's got the eyes, the looking eyes emoji, and in response to a tweet from his 3 days ago about Barcelona remain keen on Alvarez and are in daily contact. So maybe something happening in that space there.
I'm not seeing that one.
It was about 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's not coming up on his timeline though.
Oh, it's coming up on it for me. Right after an advert from Uber Eats. I don't know why I get adverts for Uber Eats. I've never used any of those apps, but there you go.
Oh, the Rogers thing has just been. It was retweeted 2 hours ago.
Was it?
Yeah. So one of the guys said it's elite trolling. I don't think it is. I think they generally do something when something happens.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what grade of something happening is happening. I think it's just they do that to let you know something's happening.
Yeah. He's just tweeted again. Breaking news. The best thing for me is a transfer and I want to fulfill my dream is a direct quote from Alvarez. As always reported, Julian has agreed to join Barcelona and wants to move. It depends on the clubs now. 100 million euro bid rejected a few weeks ago. Daily talk progressing. So there we go. Let's see.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one, but I didn't see the other one that you put.
Yeah, it's all it is rolling eyes emoji. Not rolling eyes, a double eye emoji. Just nothing sort of big.
Yeah. There we go. Okay then. Well, watch your space then. We'll see what we can do. Hopefully we're gonna have a. Are you available Thursday? We're gonna do one Thursday after the England game.
Wednesday, didn't we say?
Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, should be fine. Thursday I definitely can't do this week.
No, we do Wednesday because obviously we normally do Tuesday, but we're not doing Tuesday because the game's on.
Yeah,
and I ain't doing watch-alongs. I should get the encouragement to do it, but I just can't be asked.
No, I also don't understand why people watch-alongs.
The
I'll tell you what though, I do listen to them, so I shouldn't be quite so blunt about them. But I listen to them when I'm on the train and I can't watch.
Yeah, you can't when you can't watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't understand.
No, if you're sat there watching it on TV, why are you watching a watch along?
Yeah.
No,
Especially as they're often behind.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You've almost got to pause it, haven't you, to let the stream catch up, so you're watching it at the same time. But then you always get people in the chat telling you what's happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, what's the point? Just turn the chat off then.
Yeah.
It's just like,
doesn't make sense to me.
But yeah. But there we go. Nice one joining us tonight, sir.
No, good fun as always.
Yes. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, hopefully we get some more information on the transfer funds and transfer arrangements for the rest of the thing. But if you're in the stream, please make sure you're liking and subscribing to both channels. They are as they're seen in the orange captions down below. Drop a like and subscribe, and any comments in the comment section below appreciated, and we'll see you in the next one. All right.